allow this image to be planted into your mind. You're trying to make a new friend and you're not sure whether they like you, but in particular, this person, they actually are showing interest in wanting to be friends with you a little bit, but they're also not. It's so mixed. Like some days you feel like they're texting you first and they almost seem to want to hang out. But at other times, they seem to be having more fun when they're talking to other people rather than when they're talking to you. And sometimes they dry text you. And it's really hard to tell. It's just racking your brain, this one. They're also, I forgot to mention, this person is really charismatic and everyone loves talking to them. And you have not that many friends. It's hypothetical. You have less friends than maybe the average person, definitely less than this person. So it just doesn't seem like you two kind of line up, if that makes sense. So because of this mismatch, you decide that you're still going to talk to them because you want to be friends with them, but you're not going to expose yourself to rejection too much. So you're not going to ask them to hang out one-on-one. So you do this, you just keep talking to them. When they text you, you reply. When they take a while to reply, you also take a while to reply. When they say something dry, you say something dry back because again, you're matching their energy, but you still have good conversations where they're going well, you say good stuff, they say good stuff. But over time, you notice that they start to drift away from you. What started off with what could have been a good friendship, maybe even a potential best friend, I don't know, has now drifted away into just another texting every now and then, getting left undelivered, that kind of thing. And it frustrates you because it seems like every single person who is in your life either stays at the point they are and doesn't get closer to you, or they move further away. It's just like you can never get to that point where you're actually good friends with people. It's infuriating. This hypothetical story is actually not a hypothetical story. It is a story from my life, if you guys couldn't tell. It's based on a specific person, but I did this with lots of other people as well. I did the same thing. And there was several mistakes I was making, one and big one in particular, that stopped me from making friends with this person. Although, I will say, I did realize it with the person in this story. I actually realized my mistake, turned it around, and we're still friends to this day. But the other times I did this, we are not friends. So realizing this stuff and actually applying it did help me make a friend. So maybe it'll help you guys. Again, I'm just some random guy, but we'll see. So the biggest issue was I had such low self-esteem or confidence or whatever you want to call it, that when I was talking to people, I was assuming that they didn't want to be friends with me when maybe they actually did. I was thinking, why on earth would this person want to be friends with me? So what I was doing was I thought I was going to get rejected. And as a result of that, I would do a thing called conversational slipping. And I would also not expose myself to getting rejected because I thought there's a high chance I'm going to get rejected, right? So I don't want to make a fool of myself, basically. So I'm playing it safe. Unfortunately, playing it safe doesn't make you friends, but I'll go into more detail. So this has effects for when you're talking to people who you don't know and when you're talking to people who you've known for a while, but you're trying to become closer to them. So people you don't know, if you're just having a first conversation with someone, they start to, maybe there's a silence, right? And they don't say anything. You might think, oh no, they mustn't want to be friends with me. And then you don't want to keep restarting the conversation, right? Because then it seems like you're too needy. You're talking to them, you might be an annoyance. And that leads to you not being friends with them because you're not talking enough. When maybe it's pretty natural in conversation for the other person to just not be able to think of something to say. And when it comes to people you've known a while, everyone who is friends with anyone will know that when you talk to people, your friends are going to have like dry text sometimes. They're going to be busy and not reply for a while. This stuff happens, and sometimes it's through lack of effort. Sometimes it's just they don't know what to say. And if every time you get a dry text or, they don't want to hang out with you or whatever, if you then match their energy by dry texting back or not wanting to hang out with them or not offering to hang out, then you're just going to conversational slipping, which is where you'll drift further apart because every time they go down a rung, instead of you making up for it like normal friends would, keeping it equal, every time they mess up a little bit, you go down and your relationship gets further and further apart. So that's one part, is that every time they don't do something, you get further apart. But also, you don't get closer because you don't expose yourself to the types of things that make people want to be close friends with you. So when you're talking to someone and you want to actually become friends with them, you have to invite them out to be friends with you, right? You have to talk to them for a long time, often. You have to have deep conversations. You have to give them advice. You have to ask for advice, all this stuff. And you can't do that if you're afraid of being rejected, because all of these things, you don't do them from the minute you start conversation with them. So that means at some point you have to start doing them. So there's a first time. And doing that first time, there's always a risk of like rejection or being judged or it not going well. And if you already believe that you're going to get rejected, you're not going to do those things. So you can't get closer. That combined with the conversational slipping thing, which means you're just matching their energy, not going above and fixing it, means, first of all, you're not going to go closer, but then you're also going to go further back. So to fix this, it's pretty simple. Don't assume that you're rejected before you're actually rejected. It's not always just like, oh, they're way out of my league, they don't want to be friends with me. It's not always like, oh, they left me undelivered for 2 hours, they mustn't want to be friends with me. It's not extreme stuff like this. You can catch yourself doing this just a tiny bit, and even that tiny bit will stop you making as close a friends as you could be. So the tiny bit might be, you may just be having in the back of your mind, this person has a bit better social skills than me. I don't have enough to offer them as a friend. And just that tiny little bit of that is enough. So just be careful of that, and how to fix it. Just make a notice of it. How do I fix everything? You notice when you're actually doing it. And when you notice it, you make decisions with that in mind. So that doesn't affect your decisions. That means that basically it's not there. Now that's not the only thing that might be preventing you from making friends. There's 3 other things that I identified that I personally do. There's probably more, but these are just 3 that I do or used to do. So one of the things is, when you're talking to people, sometimes you'll have a tendency to default back to surface level conversations when you're at a deep one, because you don't know what to say next. It's hard to keep conversations going sometimes, right? Like we're all chatting and then there'll be a silence, and you have to say something quickly so that the silence doesn't get too long. The issue with this is that sometimes you try too hard to keep the conversation going. When there is a deeper conversation, it's often harder to think of things to say. So every time you get in a deep conversation and you're trying to think of what to say, it takes a bit longer, you panic, and then you go back to small talk. So say we're talking about like our goals, and they say something you don't quite know how to respond, so you go, crazy weather, hey. You've just ruined the chance to be friends with that person, because they've just given you an opportunity to connect with them on goals and what actually is important to them, and you've ignored it basically. So even if you take a bit longer to respond, it's worth it. You might think, oh yes, I've said something, that's good. Be aware that you don't want to say stuff if it is massively decreasing the depth of the conversation. The next thing I was doing was I was acting nonchalant when I was meeting people, and I wasn't going up and talking to them as much as I should, because I was thinking, okay, this happened at my athletics. A new person joined the group that I train with for my 100 and 200 meter sprint training. And in the first couple weeks, or the first like day in particular, I was like, you know, I got like plenty of time. They're going to be here for years probably. So I don't have to go and talk to them in like the first 10 minutes. And then it went on to, oh, I don't have to talk to them the first day. I don't have to talk to them the first week. I did talk to them a little bit, but I didn't go up to them and attempt to make friends with them. And eventually I did like start talking to them a lot. But by that point, I'd missed a massive opportunity, which was to go up to them straight away and show that I was interested, because it took me so long. It's kind of like I wasn't showing that I was interested in being friends. So don't worry about trying to not seem too keen when you meet someone. Like actually talk to them a lot. And this goes for like, if you're just at like a single event, you're seeing someone one time, don't worry if you're talking to someone for too long. If it's actually a good conversation, keep it going. Like that's what the other person is there for as well. And yes, they may not like you. They might find out that they don't like you sooner if you do this, but that's how you make friends. Some people aren't going to like you, some people are. That's just the game. And the last thing I was doing, or I guess this one is something I was not doing, was I was talking to people like in class and stuff, and I was just talking to them in class. So a lot of the time we're socializing isn't the primary thing we're doing. We might be in class studying. We might be at a sport thing and we're doing the sport. We might be watching a movie. Yeah, I don't know. Half of activities where you're actually socializing isn't the main thing. The point is that you need to be having long chats with people to make friends with them. If every 5 minutes your conversation gets interrupted, you can't get to a deep conversation, because conversations all start at small talk and they gradually get deeper. Unless it's like your best friend and you've known each other for years, then you can kind of just go up to them and be like, start talking about something deep. But when we're trying to make friends with something, that's how it goes. And that takes time. And if socializing is not the primary thing you're doing, if there's no, 20-minute stretches where all you're doing is chatting to one person one-on-one, then you can't do that. You can't get to the deep bits and you can't connect with them. So for example, take my athletics training. Every 5 minutes, I'll get interrupted because I'll have to do the next run or I'll be warming up. Also, it's a big group. So you can't talk to one person for too long because someone else will come over and talk, You need to isolate someone and talk to them for a long time in order to make friends with them. And a lot of the time you think, oh, I'm socializing, I'm chatting to this person. I see them like 3 times a week. I talk to them for 2 hours because that's how long you see them for. But really, you're only talking to them 5 minutes at a time. And that's not enough. You need to prioritize adding in longer sections. So maybe after you see them, after the social event, you ask if they want to hang out just with you or like drive them home or whatever. Just try to organize opportunities where you are talking to them for longer. So to make more friends, don't assume rejection before it actually happens. Don't sacrifice depth in conversation for like fluency and actually coming up with things to say. So pause a bit. When you're meeting people, don't not talk to them a lot. So go up to them, talk to them for a long time, immediately work out whether you're going to be friends or not. And the fourth one was, what's my notes? Add in blocks where you're actually talking to people for a long time, not just 5-minute intervals, because that won't make you friends. You may notice that particularly these first 2 things, it helps to be confident. You're not going to assume rejection too early if you actually are confident in yourself. And you're not going to quickly say stuff about the weather if you're confident. So if you want to become more confident, watch this video, it'll help.